Let's open the book of Genesis. Chapter 6 and verse 2 says, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any that they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh, his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. Renown means they had a name for themselves. It's the Hebrew word Shem. And these mighty men are Gibor. Mighty is Gibor in Hebrew. So God decides he's going to bring a flood. He tells Noah to make an ark, a big boat, something that's going to survive the waters, the floods. And then in Genesis chapter 6, verse 19, he says to bring every living thing, every type, every sort into the ark to keep them alive, male and female. In verse 20, he says birds to their kind, their kinds, animals according to their kind, every creeping thing on the ground according to its kind, 2 of every sort. So Noah did this. In chapter 7, God says in verse 2 to take 7 pairs of all clean animals, male and his mate, which would be female, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and his mate. Again, the male and his female, because they need to be able to have children. So it's a male and female. Verse 3 of Genesis chapter 7, 7 pairs of the birds of the heavens, also male and female, to keep their offspring alive. Because God says, I'm going to send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Verse 5, Noah did all that the Lord commanded him, and he was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth. Verse 8, of clean animals and of animals that are not clean, and of birds and of everything that creeps on the ground, 2 and 2, male and female, went into the ark with Noah as God had commanded Noah. So I want to tie the Bible in to the Book of Enoch, or tie the Book of Enoch into the Bible. Enoch goes into some depth about the pre-flood times. In chapter 6, verse 1, it says, and it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. The names of the angels that were involved in this: Simjaza, their leader. His name means infamous rebellion. There were 200 of these guys who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. Now, Mount Hermon, Hermon means sacred mountain. So they took a sacred oath among each other. and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. Imprecation is a spoken curse. So may we be cursed if we break this bond, right? There were 200 of them. Semjaza was their leader. His name means infamous and rebellion. Kind of like Nimrod, a rebel. That's what his name means. And these are the names of their leaders. Semjaza or Semyazaz, their leader. Arakiba. Arakiba means earth of God. Ramael means thunder of God. Kokabiel means star of God. Thamiel means God is perfect. Ramiel means thunder of God. Danel means God is judge. Ezekiel means God strengthens. Baraquael means lightning of God. It has Barak in there, means lightning of God. Lightning, Barak. As in, I saw Satan fall like lightning. Barak. Fell like Barak. Interesting, right? Azael means entire removal, strength of God, she-goat, of going away, and a scapegoat, one who takes the blame. A lot of meaning to the name Azael. Armorous means cursed one. Batarel means valley of God. Ananel means reign of God. Zaquiel means purity of God. Zamzapeel means son of God. S-U-N, sun, like the sun in the sky. Satarel means God's angel of all things hidden. Turel, meaning rock of God. Jamjael, meaning day of Yahweh God. Sariel, meaning prince of God. Those were 19 names. So if we go to Enoch chapter 7, so now we found out the names of these guys. It listed 19 of them. These watcher angels that didn't love the women, it says they lusted after them. And they wanted to take them and beget or produce offspring for themselves. So if we go into chapter 7, starting in verse 1, and all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms, which are ornaments, like necklaces and bracelets and objects used for magic. They taught them enchantments. They're teaching this to the women. Enchantments, which is magic spells. They taught them the cutting of roots and made them acquainted with plants. Aha, check this out. If we do this with the roots and plants, what can we make? We can make you some drugs, things that'll get you high. And the women became pregnant. And they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells. 3,000 ells is 4,500 feet tall. That's crazy, right? That's how tall some of them got, 4,500 feet. That's huge. They consumed all the acquisitions of men. That means anything that men had, food, whatever, these guys consumed it. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against the men and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles, and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless one. And Azazel, whose name means strength of God, or she-goat, or scapegoat, one who takes the blame, Azazel taught men to make swords, and knives, and shields, and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of antimony. Antimony is metallic element, atomic number 51. It's a metallic element, which is atomic number 51, which is a silvery white crystalline. And they taught the beautifying of eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. So they taught women how to make makeup and use all kinds of costly stones. Put these stones in your jewelry and all that. How pretty. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Semjaza, this is the leader, taught enchantments and root cutting. Amaros taught them the resolving of enchantments. Barakquayal, he taught astrology. Kokabel, he taught the constellations. Ezequiel taught the knowledge of the clouds. Araquiel, he taught the signs of the earth. Shamziel taught the signs of the sun. Sariel taught the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. So that's a whole lot that we read, but I just wanted you guys to hear it, just in case you haven't been able to read the Book of Enoch. I've been reading it. I'm a little past chapter 50 now. I find it very interesting. Another thing about the Book of Enoch is there are many Bible writers that quote from the Book of Enoch, or the things they wrote complement the writings of Enoch. They go hand in hand. So this book is very interesting, and it goes a little more deep into what happened pre-flood. And you get a little more understanding of why God flooded the earth. See, the thing was, there were hybrids all over the earth. They offered men things and they offered women things. And when you offer things to people, people will sell out easily. You offer people this green stuff that we call money, they will sell out. They will sell their souls for money and for fame and such. They'll sell out their children. They'll sell out their wives. They'll sell out their husbands. They'll sell out their brothers and sisters and friends and relatives. People do this all the time today. There's nothing new under the sun. As it was then, so it is today. People will do anything to get drugs, to get high. They'll take a life of another human being in order to get some stuff that the fallen angels had taught mankind how to make. These pharmaceuticals, these drugs. They taught men how to make weapons. Men love weapons, don't they? They taught women how to put makeup on their face, how to make jewelry, how to make potions, how to cast spells. These are very, very, very smart beings. And their technologies back then were beyond anything that we can even imagine today. These are very intelligent beings. Their realm is heaven. They understood things because they're in the heavenlies. The earthly stuff was simple for them. So they took what belonged to God and they manipulated it. Not only did they take man that God had created, but they take the women and they plant their seed in these women. And what comes out of these women are abominations in the sight of God. But that wasn't enough. They ate up the animals. Men were trying to sustain these guys because some of these giants were ginormous. And if you say, how come we don't have 4,500 foot skeletons or fossils here on Earth? Let me tell you, you never know what some of these mountains just might be made of, or what these mountains actually are. There are many bone fragments that look like rocks. You would think it's just a regular rock, but they're finding out more and more that many of these things that look like rocks are actually bones. They call them mud fossils. That is very interesting. There's a YouTube channel, I think it's called Mud Fossil University. If you want to check that channel out. Pretty interesting stuff I've been seeing on there for just a little while now. But he talks about these things that look like just rocks, but they're the bone fragments of giants. Giants. See, what's not really explained to us when we go to school and such, sometimes not even in your most common average churches, they don't teach these things. Because most people will tell you it's so bad to look into things like the Book of Enoch. No, it's not for our eyes to see. Well, the Book of Enoch says that it was written for a time in the distant future when there would be a great tribulation on this earth. A tribulation like no other. So perhaps when things on earth start to manifest, maybe Enoch, the Book of Enoch, will explain a lot of the origin of these things. It goes deep into the origin of demons, evil spirits. It goes deep into the origin of unclean spirits. Isn't an unclean spirit a demon? Well, you see, a demon is the spirit of these hybrids called Nephilim, birthed from the women of men, the human women, with angel fathers. And remember, different angels, different genetics. So these beings were different that were birthed. And these women, because they sold themselves out, they gave themselves to these angels, perhaps wanting godly children. Amazing. Right? And the men, here, take our daughters, take our wives, go ahead, have them. We want that stuff you have to offer. Yeah. So they all sell out. Except Noah, he didn't. So him and his family, that they got to go on the ark. And the waters from above and the waters from below crushed the earth like a sandwich. Waters opened up from the heavens. And waters bursted out of the ground from below, crushing everything and packing everything tightly into the earth. Maybe these giants, when they were buried, they appear to be what you might think is a mountain, but you never know what's under that mountain. There might be giants under there. So a demon is the spirit of these giants. They're called also evil spirits in the Bible, but then we have unclean spirits, which come from the other forms of God's creation that had a little bit of contamination with the DNA of these beings. So you have man that carry angel DNA, but then you have also, it says they sinned against the animals, the land animals, the creepy crawly animals, the reptiles, the birds of the air, the ocean life. They altered something in these creatures, perhaps because they're children, right? These giants, see, this is like a lab experiment going haywire. These giants turned on each other and started eating each other, cannibals, and drinking each other's blood. So perhaps what their fathers did was manipulate the DNA of God's creations, water animal, reptiles, birds, and the beasts of the field. So maybe they take something like an alligator or a crocodile, and let's blend a little DNA with a little something over there, maybe of a bird or something, and then let's take our angelic DNA and put it in there, and let's, well, look at that, a dinosaur, a giant beast, a Jurassic abomination. Now, am I saying all these fossils that are called dinosaurs are Jurassic abominations? No. But I am saying that I'm very sure that these beings created Jurassic abominations. I mean, even the movies are giving us hints. You ever watch the Jurassic Park movies? Yeah, okay, so you got these normal dinosaurs, but then you've got the man-made dinosaurs. They do this stuff with messing up their genetic code, their DNA. Let's put a little of this and a little of that and a little of that, and we'll doctor up and manipulate and make a dinosaur of our own. Just like, okay, I don't know how many of you believe in the existence of these creatures called Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Yeti or even Dogmen. I know Dogman sounds like a stupid name, but look it up, Dogman. But let's just go with Bigfoot, right? Sasquatch, or even Yeti. Now, let's say there are the ones that God created, but let's say some of them got a little of mixture of this angelic DNA, this hybriding. Because there are people, whether you believe in the existence of these things or not, maybe you can just believe in the possibility of the existence. Because if you can't even believe in the possibility of the existence of something like that because you think that the government would tell you, or somebody would get good pictures on camera and all that, right? Well, how many great pictures on camera have you found of angels, but a lot of you believe in angels? How many great pictures on camera have you found of God, but you believe in God? How many great pictures on camera have you found of Jesus, but you believe in Jesus, right? So these creatures called Sasquatch, Bigfoot, let's say some of them are God's creation, right? Purely from God. But then maybe some of them have been manipulated with, because we have to remember, after the flood, Genesis said the Nephilim, which are hybrids, they returned. So these different angels obviously got together and did some more hybriding. Or people invited these angels, come, hey, do some DNA mixture on me and animals and all. I mean, listen, there's things all throughout the Bible. There's giants after the flood all over through the Bible. There's men that look like lions, the lion men of Moab. Look at Nebuchadnezzar, this king that turns into a beast. Even Nimrod, it seems when you read the Hebrew language about Nimrod, it seems like something began to change in his DNA. Something might have gotten manipulated in his DNA to change him. So there's these creatures and beings throughout the scriptures that are abominations. And if there are these Sasquatches and these Bigfoot, that there are many, many, many people that have reported seeing supernatural occurrences, things that happen with these creatures. So maybe though there are ones that God created, but then there's the ones that the angels took of God's creation and manipulated things. And they're here on earth today because there's a return of Nephilim. Because Jesus says, as in the days of Noah, so will it be before he returns, before Jesus returns. So back to the dinosaurs. You know, if you think about it, these giant children, they get hungry. They want something to feed on. But there's another thing. There's another thing about mankind that they love to do. There are people that love to hunt, whether it's for sport, which is a terrible thing, or whether it's for food. They hunt, and some people really enjoy it. Now, when I say hunt for sport, I'm talking about killing something so you can just make a trophy out of it, or killing it for pleasure instead of necessity. So people love to hunt. Well, hey, why not make these giant offsprings something fun to hunt? Something that's actually a challenge. Perhaps a T-Rex. Or maybe something like a T-Rex, or even other dinosaurs that are known to be more ferocious and big. Maybe they were like pets for these guys. Maybe, you know, people have guard dogs. Maybe they had guard dogs because these giants turned on each other. It says they ate each other and drank each other's blood. See, this lab experiment went haywire. These angels, they thought they so smart, but they manipulated God's creation, and then their experiment goes haywire, right? Just like I'm sure a lot of these things today went haywire and are still going haywire. There are cryptids that are reported all throughout this earth, whether you believe in it or not. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. That doesn't change the fact that if they exist or not. And if they do, if you don't believe it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just you don't believe it. And you don't have to. That's your choice. But if they exist, I would rather know about it myself. And I'd rather know about the origin of them, because if they're coming back and they're going to manifest more and more, and if this earth is like the days of Noah during the Great Tribulation, well, maybe it's good to get people prepared for the things that are going to show up on this earth, because the Bible says that people will faint out of fear for what is coming, the things that they're going to witness. It says it in the Old Testament, and it says it in the New Testament. So maybe some of these dinosaurs Maybe some of these creatures were of God's pure creation, but then you've got the ones that were hybrided, which would be what I call Jurassic abominations. I'm not saying Jurassic abomination is a scientific word. I just call it that. So maybe some of these things were created to make food for these Nephilim. Maybe some of them were made as pets, or like guard dogs. Maybe some of them didn't go on the ark. And maybe others that were of God's creation made it on the ark. And maybe some of them still exist here on earth today. There's all kinds of possibilities. But you know, when they study the age of bones and all that, and they say that they understand that it's millions and millions of years old, you know, I'm no scientist, but I do think of other possibilities. Like if these dinosaurs were not like millions of years before man, but if they were here at the same time as man, and if some were like God's creation, like alligators and crocodiles, you know, and these huge lizards and certain types of birds, you know, because they say that a lot of them say that they think T-Rexes were birds. Some people don't even believe that dinosaurs have actually existed. They think that that's just a trick, you know, but I believe in them because I think that they were part of what Enoch talks about. Something that you can't find the great detail in the Bible scriptures about, but I like how Enoch goes into it a little more. And just like how Enoch gives you, you know, tells you more about where demons and unclean spirits, the spirit of these hybrid creatures, such as something that got manipulated by the angels, like a Sasquatch that has these spiritual abilities. Well, when it dies, it's an unclean spirit destined to roam on earth. That's what Enoch says. Demons, they live on earth. These evil spirits, they live on earth. The unclean spirits, they live on earth, right? And they haunt people, and they want to get inside people, right? They want to possess. So when scientists study the aging of bones and what they call fossils and all that, you know, I want you to consider something about extreme pressure. What happens when something is put under extreme amount of pressure and buried deep and pressurized, and all that weight going on and pressurizing it? Because if you understood the flood, how the door, the windows of heaven opened up, God, it's like he cracked open his firmament, and let the waters gush out of it from above. Oh, there's waters above? Yeah, much different than the rain clouds. Something crazy, like an ocean above our firmament. And then below, the oceans came out like giant geysers, throwing rock and stone into the air super high. And when it comes down, people might think that those are meteors or asteroids from outer space, when actually they're finding salt water in a lot of these things. And I would see this as stones flying up, being projected into the skies. And a lot of these craters in the ground, maybe these aren't actually where stones hit them and people just kind of crumbled them up and took them away, but maybe this is actually where the waters shot out from below. And all of this pressure came and sandwiched the earth. That's why this thing that Noah constructed had to be done by God. God had to give him the instructions, because God knew how much this thing was going to have to take. I mean, you know, we've got so many different signs and things that are so unexplainable, man can't explain. But if we actually think about things that are here on earth and how these bones perhaps got aged like that or seem to have been aged because of the pressurizing. What happens if you take coal and put it under enough pressure? I mean, in the movie Superman, he showed you, he takes a piece of coal and he squeezes it, and it seems like it speeds up time in his hand. And under enough time and pressure, what happens to coal? It becomes a diamond. And Superman wants to make a ring for Lois Lane. So he takes a piece of coal and he just puts pressure, enough pressure where it speeds everything up. And poof, he blows on it and there's a diamond left over, right? So maybe that's why these fossils, where they think they study them so well, and our instruments say that they're millions and millions of years old. Perhaps it's because they were pressurized so much. And maybe a lot of these giants' bones that are discovered aren't shown to the public. There's so many things that are kept secret from the public. You guys already know this. If you think that these people that have power, if you think they are going to let you in on all their secrets, think again. Right? There's a whole bunch of things that are kept from us. Believe me, I know. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness, and there was a whole bunch of things that were kept from me from my religious leaders who I trusted in, who I thought they would tell us the truth, that they knew things, and they were hiding the truth from us. Why? Because it gives them power. And they honestly don't respect or fear God in a healthy way. They serve a different God. They just call him Jehovah, but they serve a different God. So, we have all kinds of things throughout this earth. We've got these fossils that they call them, these bones of dinosaur that they say millions and millions of years, when maybe this was part of what Enoch was showing us, this manipulation of what these angels did to birds, to reptiles, to all the animals on earth, different types of species of animals, what they did to man, what they did to ocean life, right? And these pyramids that we're seeing all over that people can't explain how they were made. Is there a possibility that people always, when they do the pyramid sign, they throw up that thing that looks like a pyramid? You might call it a triangle. But we see these pyramids that sure do look like triangles. And I'm going to tell you what a triangle is. A triangle is the Hebrew letter Vav turned in 3 different ways. See, tri means 3. 3 angles, triangle. 3 angles of what? The letter Vav, our letter V. In Hebrew, it's Vav. Vav, it has also a numerical value. It's a numerical value of 6. So if you have a triangle, tri meaning 3, you have 3 Vavs, 3 6s, no matter which way you turn it. A pyramid is just an upside down 6. But that pyramid also has, no matter which way you turn it, if you keep it upside down, it's always going to look like the Vav, right? So 3 6s is what? A 6 and a 6 and a 6. So maybe these pyramids are like the coming of the Antichrist, because that's their ultimate. That is the one that they really, really want to get here on earth if he's not already here now. They want this one that's the Antichrist, the ultimate abomination. The one that's going to seem so Christ-like. He's an imitation Christ. He's the one that people are going to call their Savior. He's going to have the answers for everything. He's going to do amazing things. Signs and wonders and miracles. He's going to be their ultimate representation yet. But just like their failed experiments from the past, it'll be another failed experiment. So maybe these pyramids are signs for their son called Antichrist, the son of perhaps Satan. I mean, You think about it. Well, there's so many signs everywhere, things, you guys. I don't want to go too deep into it. I just like thinking about the nails inside of Jesus' hands and the one in his feet, you know, because Vav, which I told you is the Hebrew letter Vav, which is the numerical value of 6. It's our letter V in English. Well, Vav is also a picture of a nail, like those things that they put in Jesus' hands and in his feet. And when you see him on the cross, you see one nail in one hand, one nail in the other, and you see a nail going in between his feet, which are crisscrossed. And those are 3 nails, 3 Vavs, 3 6s. Except what Satan thought he had done. He thought he gained victory. I nailed that guy to the cross. What do you think about that? Well, it wasn't Satan's victory. It was ours, unbeknownst to Satan. That's all I wanted to add to it. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a different perspective. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm a little wrong, little right. I'm not sure. But just kind of seeing things differently, just in case you never thought of it before, where dinosaurs, where do they come from? How do they tie into the Bible? Does the Bible talk about it? Well, maybe if you look into Enoch and all, you can kind of start to figure these things out, right? So anyway, I hope this message has blessed you. Love you guys. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.